Pokemon on the Switch. One of the greatest enigmas the Pokemon fandom has had to deal with since 2017. We have had next to no information about it other than it's coming. As we draw closer to the anniversary of when it first heard of its existence, the leaks and rumors claiming knowledge about it have been popping up like weeds in a field. These rays of false hope have only raised questions of what the truth will hold. Many have speculated, many have debated. Now it's time to present the pros and the cons for what the future will really hold. This is the journey to Pokemon Switch. Patterns are a beautiful thing in life. Everything is made up of them. We exist because of patterns of events that have played out over eons. We live by patterns. Our bodies are patterns. Nothing in life is random. It is all a sequence of patterns that lead to an outcome. Life and nature have it naturally. Art emulates this because patterns are a thing of beauty. Pokemon is a game of patterns, and sometimes we can use this to predict what is coming next. Well, I won't be trying to predict the future in this episode. What I will be doing is showing you all the patterns I knew of and could find that exist in Pokemon. Some of these are rather controversial, and others you may have never heard of. I want to start with the most infamous. I'm sure all of you have heard of the Chinese zodiac fire starter theory. Whether you believe it or not, there's no arguing with the pattern it presented. I know people will argue that Cyndaquil does not fit the rap. They argue it's a shrew, a hedgehog, and an echidna, and others will argue for it that it's a play on words in the Japanese language, but as the Pokédex says, it's a fire mouse. And as for Fennekin, well, as I stated in the video I did back when I started this channel, foxes are part of the Canidae family, which consists of dogs, wolves, and foxes, and so on. So you may not like it, but it's close enough. Moving on, this shows that a pattern is being followed. There is even theories out there that they say all the water types are based off weapons and all grass starters are based off extinct creatures. While I do not see these patterns, they are not as infamous as the Zodiac theory. Well, I am sure whatever we get in Gen 8 will either confirm or debunk this pattern once and for all. Another pattern that is more or less confirmed is the even Eevee theory. Have you ever noticed that we only get new evolutions on the even number generations? Gen 1 was the base. Everything built off that. Gen 2 introduced Espeon and Umbreon. Gen 3 didn't have an evolution. Gen 4 introduced Leafeon and Glaceon to the mix. Gen 5 had nothing. Gen 6 had Sylveon, and Gen 7 had nothing as well. The pattern is obvious. And this is the only reason the flying type Eevee rumor exists. It is because we are getting a new Eevee this generation, in Generation 8. If only there was a pattern to predict the typing. Regardless of what it is, it's highly suspected we will be getting an evolution in Generation 8. Those are the two best known patterns that we all know. Whether we believe them is up to you. There are some lesser known patterns that I find interesting and I want to point them out to you. One has to do with the remakes, and the other has to do with the region themes. I will start with the remake pattern. Remakes of older games have been ongoing since Fire Red and Leaf Green on the Game Boy Advance. Remakes have followed since, but there is just one unique pattern amongst them all. There is only one remake per system. The Game Boy Advance only had one. The DS, while having the longest lifespan and 2 generations, only had one. The 3DS only had one despite having 2 generations. And now, here we are on the Switch, where we will more than likely see a remake of Gen 4. Of course, with the lifespan of the Switch, this pattern may be broken. The last pattern is rather strange, but it does hold truth to it. What if I told you that the regions are on a rotating set of themes? Hear me out before you start raging. Gen 1 was very metropolitan. You traveled from city to city. Sure, the cities were not huge due to the lack of power of the Game Boy, but you saw it in the anime what the cities were supposed to look like. Gen 2 was themed around culture and tradition. The cities and towns all had a rustic Japanese feel to it, and the story focused on the old traditions of the region with Lugia and Ho-Oh. Gen 3 was themed around a tropical setting. You had the volcano, the lush forests, and beaches and oceans. Gen 4, and where the cycle ends, is themed around mountains and colder climate. Now the cycle begins again. Gen 5 is just like Gen 1, a metropolitan area where you go from city to city getting your badges. And this time the cities were huge and lived up to the metropolitan word. Gen 6 had a huge culture and tradition vibe going for it. Everything outside of the main city had a rustic feel to it as if you were traveling the countryside. This now leads us to Alola, which was tropical, no doubt. No ifs, ands, or buts with that. So the pattern of 4 is new, and it seems to fit, but unless the new game isn't mountainous or cold, the pattern is broken. Actually, all these patterns could be broken with Pokemon Switch. According to the leak riddlers and a few other sources, these games are going to be a reboot in a way, but at the same time, they are not. Gen 5 was just like this. It was a soft reboot, but going to the Switch can mean a lot of changes are coming. It wouldn't shock me at all if all the past patterns are shattered. The latest rumor now is the games are set 100 years into the future, so anything is possible. What are your thoughts on the patterns? Are they as real as they seem, or are we all seeing specters on the horizon? Do you want to bitch me out for the Zodiac pattern theory? Well, feel free to do so in the comments below. Let me know what you think about the patterns in Pokemon. In the next episode of Journey to Pokemon Switch, I will be talking about one thing we should all be keeping an eye out for: trademarks. If you want me to cover a certain topic in this series, let me know and I'll give you a shout out as thanks for helping me make this series. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and share the video around. It helps to grow the channel and I'd really appreciate it. Become a member of the Phoenix today by following me on Twitter and subbing to the channel. The link to my Twitter is always in the description below and on the front page of my channel. Doing so, you will never miss one of my videos go live and you'll get to see some funny things I post on Twitter. Now, with all that said, this has been Black Phoenix. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.